Good afternoon, guys. First of all, thank you very much for coming along. Conscious there are a number of breakout sessions, so really appreciate you spending the next hour or so with us. My name is Matt Bennett. I'm Tipico's account manager here at Domo. I'll briefly introduce the guys. They will then talk and give their story, and then we'll finally open up for any questions at the end. For those of you that don't know Tipico, they're one of Europe's largest gambling companies, roughly 55% market share in Germany, process over 500 million transactions every day, and a huge retail presence alongside millions of customers online. So with all of that, as you would expect, they have huge amounts of data and a demanding organization that lives and breathes data. Essentially, it's what a gambling company does. It's maths and numbers. So Jake and Pierre will share with you how both culturally and using technology, and of course Domo, they've enabled anyone in the organization to be able to ask and answer their own questions, enabled curiosity across the organization, and enabled employees to be able to challenge the business using data. The Tipico data team are an incredible team, and I'm thrilled that Jake and Pierre are here to share their story, so I'll welcome them up to the stage.
Thank you.
Cheers, man. Thanks.
Hi, guys. So I'm Pierre Grimaldi. This is Jake. We have the pleasure to basically speak a bit of what we did with Tipico and Domo. We used Domo for 8 months, so it's quite a privilege to be already here on stage and speak about what we did. What we will go for, it's how we implemented it and how, excuse my French accent also. If you don't understand, like you do. All right, so we'll really go for a different phase we faced, basically, and we will give as much as takeaways as possible to you guys. So this is us. All right, so Tipico is a gambling company. Matt explained it pretty well. We are focused on sports betting, so our thing is really to handle odds in the best way possible and the safest way for our customers. And we are really focused on soccer, which is enormous enough in Germany and in Europe. And we have a side business, which is casino. So this is our market. It's basically German-speaking market. So you have Germany, where we are clear leaders, and we have Austria. We are a company of 6,000 employees that are based in 6 different locations. So you have Malta, Germany, obviously. Malta is our headquarters. Germany, Gibraltar, Colombia, Austria, and Croatia. So our business is separated in 2 entities. We have retail and online. Basically, in retail, we have 1,100 shops in Germany and around 200 in Austria. In those shops, we created a cart. So this cart enables customers to use on our 6,000 terminals. They can bet, basically, and go online and basically bet also on the mobile app. On the mobile offering, what we have is we're trying to have the best possible application on the market. So everything on our business is cloud-based. Also, it's quite important to mention. So this is us, plus the other member of the team. So we're 32 at the moment. This was done 2 months ago, I think. And we're from 8 nations. We're based in Malta. This is a picture that was made in an island that is really close to Malta. It's called Sicily, you probably know it, where we had a trip together. So basically, the data tribe is a quite interesting setup. We have as a base data platform, which is actually quite big. We process 500 million data transactions per day and 200 million transactions real time. So our business setup is surrounding this data platform, and we are basically, so I'm the team leader of business intelligence. We have another team that is data science and focus on models and AI. We have data governance. We have service management and marketing and tech. So in Tipico, basically, we really believe data is like the new oil. So the CEOs place us really under him. And for this, we're not allocated to just one department. We serve absolutely everybody in the company, meaning retail, online, customer service, finance, marketing. Everybody is using our data for any sort as possible. And this is extremely interesting for us. So this presentation basically will show how our journey with Domo was set up. And we will go for first the BI journey to a bit explain you how we come from this point to Domo. So BI was set up in 2014. And at that time, when we arrived, people were not using any BI services at all. So they were creating reports manually. It was taking a lot of time. And basically, when we arrived, we were just handling ad hoc reports. After that, we move on to schedule reports. And slowly, we became, we changed the company to an extremely data-driven company. So after scheduling reports, we really focus on how to harmonize KPIs within the company and put them all together in a central place so everyone can speak the same language. We introduced dashboards using Click Sense and Click View at this time. So that was the first step for us to go towards Domo and self-service BI. After that, we focus on operational reporting. What does it mean? It's really focus on everybody that is using data for operational things, so checking of withdrawal, deposit, etc., risk management, etc. Sorry, I was drinking something. So as you see, I'm not super used to speak in public. Please excuse me. So I'll warm up. So after operational reporting, we went for real-time dashboarding and alerting. So this we introduced about 1.5 years ago, real-time ingestion using Kibana and Elasticsearch. And we presented data on real-time dashboards through Kibana. The next step for us was basically to go to self-service BI. Why? Because at the end of the day, we have 6,000 customers, a BI team, and we need to process a massive volume of requests. So we decided to go for a solution that will allow us basically to give to the users the ability to get the report themselves. So everything in blue here represents where Domo come from. And so basically we set up self-service BI about 8 months ago. And the next step for us also, it was really to get mobile application, and so people can see the data through mobile. Okay.
Great, so today we'll be covering our story with Domo. Our story is based upon 4 different steps, right? We have the discovery phase. Now, the way we see Domo, we have a very specific implementation. We are looking at self-service BI. So when we use the word democratizing, we are not really joking about it. We really want BI in the hands of the users. So in the first phase, we'll talk about why we chose Domo, what are the pitfalls, and where we see it going. In the second phase, we'll talk about the engagement, right? We know that the users needed Domo, but we will talk about how we made them want Domo. And we have some takeaways here on how to really engage your users and get them into using the tool. Then we'll cover the expansion aspect. We'll cover a few use cases to show you our actual gains with Domo, and we'll give you some tech takeaways which you can implement literally next week when you get back, and basically to really push the product forward. And finally, we'll talk about our evolution, where we see Domo going within our organization, and what we like about Domo's development. So without further ado, discovery. So the discovery process really happened in like 3 steps. First, we all know you need to understand the business. Understand what they need, understand the processes, understand where they want to go. Secondly, we need to build a wish list. A wish list and say, listen, these are the tools we want, these are the features we want, and this is where we want to go. And lastly, which is probably the most important step, is when you're introducing a new tool, you want to have an environment for success. You don't want to put the tool into places where perhaps you are not well adapted into pushing it, right? So we're tech guys, and without the slide, it's a kind of, we always give this slide in a presentation. We want to show off our tech stack and, actually show you where we were before we implemented Domo. So you can see 2 big arrows at the bottom and the top. At the top, you can see the enterprise data warehouse. This is your batch databases, right? This is the previous day's data. And at the bottom, you can see our real-time data lake. So we have our operational data and our events data in MySQL and Kafka. This is our tech stack and the data platform. We have Talend, we use Redshift, Amazon Redshift as a database, Apache Spark for the real-time processing, Logstash and Elasticsearch for the real-time storage. And then at the end, you can see, a hodgepodge of like visualization tools. You have the people who love their Excel. I'm sure you have those people in your organization. We have dashboards on ClickView. Our data scientists love playing with Jupyter Notebooks and Kibana for real-time stuff. However, tech is nice. It's nice to talk about, but what does this mean from the user's perspective? So every day the user gets into work, right? They receive their Excel reports, and they say, this KPI, I'm not really sure about it. Why did we make so much money, or why are we making a loss? That kind of thing, and they head to their dashboards, right? So what we're willing to address is the exploration aspect of the data-driven process.
Mm-hmm. So basically, this is what we had before Domo. So it was one of the triggers that we had for choosing Domo. This is ClickView, and at the end of the day, like in each dashboard we implemented a report generator that was basically presenting a lot of dimensions and a lot of KPIs. And so the users could basically tick some boxes and get a report out of it themselves. The thing is, it was a bit problematic because we were adding like more data sets, and ClickView, it's not extremely good for this.
So in fact, our business users shared the same sentiment. So we had a good dashboard environment. We didn't say it was bad, but exploring the data was really slow and inconsistently as well. So understanding the KPIs, onboarding new users was very, very, very difficult. And we shared this opinion also as developers. Adding a single feature resulted in more complexity, more time, and we have this trade-off where you have development time and business value. And as the development time started to increase, the business value was low. So back to our previous slide where we addressed a quick exploration, and this resulted in a situation where the users were coming back to us and asking us, I tried to explore the data with the dashboards. Can you give me more data, or can you help me understand it? We're only a team of 9 people, and this proved to be a big time bottleneck. So this is to give you an idea of what we're experiencing. So we had around 48 ad hoc reports per month, and these took around 19 hours to solve. Now, it didn't take 19 hours because we had trouble with the code or trouble with the SQL. Actually, what we found was when we give the user the first group of data, they actually come up with more questions. And then we give them the next one. And it results in a situation where the final data set has nothing to do with the initial request. I mean, obviously you can't blame the users, right? This is part of the data exploration process, and this is where we saw the need. So as we said, we love our tech, and this is where we saw Domo sitting, actually. So we saw 2 potentials for Domo. The data exploration process. We wanted real-time data in Domo, and we also looked at Domo, and we saw these amazing connectors, and we said Domo is really good for exploring silo data as well. So we have a lot of these small silo systems, let's say HR systems, which are very low volume and which we never saw value in integrating directly into the data warehouse. However, we would want Domo to connect to them. So this is our starting point, right? We created a wish list. We want good data exploration, and the sweet spot would be mobile visualization and alerting as well, because eventually, after this data exploration process, the users want to take action on it. So this is our road to Domo. So we had the exploration process, the selection, and finally, we wouldn't be here. We chose Domo as our final solution. And this is what we loved about Domo. We love the easy-to-build card builder. We didn't see it as a tool for developers. We saw the analyzer, which I'm sure you guys have used, as something for the business users to use. As we said, we're tech guys, and we wanted to help the business users into the analyzer. We also saw that it's a managed and cloud-based tool, so can spend less time playing around with the architecture and loading servers, etc., and more time creating business value. Finally, this really hit the sweet spot for our boss, especially Adrian. The C-level always wanted data on their mobile phone, and basically none of the tools we had could provide that. And being tech people, we love the developer resources that Domo provided us with. However, we started the presentation with saying we also need to create an environment for success, right? And when you look at the things that you love about something, you also need to think about what can go wrong. So we also thought about, what can be improved. So we said, we have easy-to-build cards, but this means we need better governance. And in fact, we really enjoyed the presentations and new features yesterday regarding the data governance, and we're looking forward to use them. Moreover, the fact that it's a cloud-based tool outside our ecosystem and it's managed, we found, as tech people, a different challenge to loading data outside of our organization. Finally, the mobile apps, it's really solved a sweet spot for us, but it really put the pressure on. Since the data is in everyone's pockets, right? That meant that users were logging on at all times of the day. This meant we need to adjust our SLAs and basically manage their expectations a bit. And finally, developer resources also comes with training.
All right, guys, so now we move on to engagement. Yeah, thanks. So basically, as we set up Domo, now the question is why engagement is so important. So basically, Domo didn't come into a virgin land. It arrived where we had so many tools already, and everybody was already really having the habits with ClickView, having reports that will handle most of the requests. So basically, we needed to find a way to introduce Domo smoothly. So this was done by a series of events that we set up. Why this guy is basically, he represents excitement. Yeah. So we use different events that will help us to hook the business to us. And the two first one was introduced by Domo themselves, so thanks Matt and Sarah for this. So they helped us to create a Domo day, so we could introduce Domo to the company. To set up our training, so as soon as we release an environment, basically we train the users that are allocated to this environment. And then we introduce our own things, so Hackathon, gamification of usage, Domo champion management, and Domo open hours. So I'll go through the 4 last, because you're probably not familiar with them. And we'll start with the hackathon. You all know what a hackathon is? You're all tech, I guess. Yeah. So basically, the objective is extremely simple. We wanted to go out of our comfort zone and just stop working for 2 days. Now my manager is here and he's rolling the eyes. But basically, what we wanted is really 2 days allocated to just Domo. Why? Because we wanted to push the business to discover Domo, and we also wanted our developers to really go in Domo and start basically discovering it. Why it's so important to focus on the developers also is because when we recruit them, usually we look, when Domo was not in the landscape, we look at ClickView experts or Excel experts or SQL experts, and they had no clue what Domo was. So it was really important to basically push them a bit toward this. As we say, we have a lot of volume of requests, so we needed to have spare time for them, just a bit of time allocated just for Domo. Third point is to have fun. So work is not always fun. So we wanted to basically set up an atmosphere and create an association from Domo to Cool Tool. And this was done via this basically event. Fourth point is like, as managers, we need to propagate like the news. We need to propagate the new tool across our different departments. So basically, we want everyone to speak about Domo. Fifth point, it's really important to be a bit free to develop your ideas. So basically, when we come out of IT school, we didn't know it would be like, okay, you need to do this for me, and it will look like this and this and this. So here, it's really like you develop what you want. And finally, we still need to work as business hours. So we decided to go for small environments that are not part of our roadmap. So the team structure was like this. Basically, we choose 3 areas that were absolutely not in our roadmap because they're not extremely valuable for us. So we choose customer service, casino, and payment and fraud. Way back in advance, we asked the departments to allocate 2 business users and to come to our hackathon a bit to brainstorm with us on what we could do, basically. On the BI developer side, we wanted to allocate 1 user that was extremely well trained with somebody that was a pure beginner, so they can create synergies between each other. Right. Okay. So the rules of a hackathon for us was extremely simple. We wanted something very like everyone can follow. And so the first rule will be use Domo. So this presentation was actually the one that we used for the hackathon. And it shows you the real rules, like 6 September was in 2018. And all the content created during this hackathon could not be updated after. Losing my voice, sorry. Third rule will be like the dashboard needs to be useful to the business. And finally, we really wanted, like the dashboard needed to be presented during a show and tell, where like all the department will be present, and basically like the data department plus the 3 department we saw, and we will elect the winner. That was the schedule, so it's a while ago now. So we started like the day by coffee. I was presenting like the rules to the team. Then like the team were meeting the stakeholders and in order to brainstorm and find ideas, like things they could develop. Then we had like we buy some lunch and beverages, and then they start coding for 2 days. Some of them spend almost the night there, like Jake. He's a crazy developer. And in the evening, we were providing for pizza and beverage. So the end was at 6 on the next day, so they had to come up with a full environment in just 2 days and basically show it on the show and tell. So now the question is, how do you define a winning team? So it's really, really subjective. So we need to find points we could allocate some value on. So we choose to go for visualization, so use of relevant charts, storytelling techniques, etc. Creativity. So creativity, what it is I wanted something that is completely out of the ordinary. So I want something that is telling me, okay, I never saw this. This is cool. Usability, so how I will go from a card to another, a page to another, etc. And relevancy to the business. So here, to feel it, it's just like to see if like the crowd is like responsive during the presentation. So each team presented on a PowerPoint, and basically we could feel, okay, they want to use it now, so this is a good point for us. To measure this, we use polls. Basically, we ask like the audience to download the application, Domo, on the phone, and we ask them like to vote basically using this application. And this is the outcome. So it was asked from Domo like to share with you a moment of breakthrough. So a moment where we find out that Domo is taking off in the company, and this was following this event, basically. So basically, Casino came to us and asked us, okay, we really like the tool. It's really smooth. We can present like really nice charts. Can we use it for a big presentation to our high-level management? And we say yes. So we sat with them for 2 days, and we set up like the presentation. Effect? No. Okay. Crazy. So basically, they were presenting Domo on the screen and using slideshow to present the revenue for 2018, so the performance. And following this event, we had a lot of people from marketing coming to us asking, okay, what is this tool? I want it in my setup. Can we get some users, etc.? So I think for us it was a good success. After this, it's rewarding the effort. Okay, the French accent coming up. So, people using Domo, we want to reward them. We want to say, okay, that's cool, thank you. So, for that, we know that Tipico is a gaming company, so gaming is really embedded in our culture. So we really want to push a bit of gamification there. And for this, we use Domostat that you all have access to in this way. So I don't know if you know it, probably all of you knows it for governance. So you just go on Data Connector and you select Domostats. There, you will have like to choose report. You just select activity log. And your focus point will be on several columns like action, object type, username, and date. This will allow you like to create a sort of scoring system that will basically allocate some points to the usage of each user. For this, we choose a couple of type of usage, like building cards, viewing cards, exporting data, or copying cards, and we just put weight on it, points. Yeah. So building cards demand more analytical skills, so we allocate the most point there. Copying cards, just 1 point. I would never manage this word. Exporting data, 1 point. And viewing card is like, okay, you use it as a dashboard. It's not extremely valuable for us, but still you use Domo. So a bit of points. This is how it looks in beast mode. Extremely simple. And that's the outcome. So we show it as a table that we send via email at the end of the month, so people get aware where they are compared to the others. And we have the user, the department where they're from, and the score. This is for us. This is a nicer way of visualization, of viewing this card. And yeah, I should speak French. It's probably easier. So basically, we want to see which department we should focus on. And here we see clearly marketing is top, but overall, Casino is a bit behind, and we didn't focus so much on them like the last month. So we start sending emails and set up meetings with them. And that's the email. Really simple. This is also really interesting for us is to define who could be an ambassador for us. So who is really into Domo and who is doing the most cool stuff. And for example, like we have marketing and bookmaking. Those 3 people can become ambassadors for us. So that's other application we can use. So by the way, this is a picture of our office. This is in Malta. So yeah, if you never saw Malta, that's a piece of it. Small one. So with Domostat, we can check how different departments are utilizing Domo and what is going on in the department. We can see also what time of the day they're using Domo. So we can see if they're using it for operational purposes or really to check up at the end of the day what their team is doing. And we can also focus on inactive customer, which is really important for governance. So I mentioned Domo champions. So for us, what it is, it's, as you know, like business intelligence for us is 7 people. And we have a company of 6,000. So we can't answer all questions they have. It will be completely crazy. So what we did is we selected a couple of people that were extremely good in Domo and extremely engaged, and we trained them a bit more. This allowed us to create a barrier between us and the business. So each department had like a Domo champion that was handling a series of easy questions. So how I can copy a card, how can I create a card, how can I use beast mode, like really easy stuff. And this allows us to just focus on something that really matters. So it's creating complex environments, releasing new features, training people, coaching people, etc. Then, it's quite important also to not lose the bound with all the users. So for this, we set up a bi-weekly meeting where on our floor, we have a massive couch area with a coffee machine, and we ask people, like it's really optional meetings, to come up and bring the laptop, and we share ideas about Domo. We share problems, and basically they have access to 2 developers per session, and they can see, they can basically be coached a bit and solve problems on the fly. This is cool because we can know what the business is facing, not only via governance, for example. And so, as I said, it's like bi-weekly.
Okay, so we covered the discovery process, how we got the users wanting Domo, but now we're going to talk a bit about what we did on our side to continue pushing Domo. This is the expansion process we're calling. So, looking back at the previous slide, we identified the data-driven decision-making process, right? We had 2 time bottlenecks. 1 when they speak to us, and 2 when they look at the old dashboards. And this is where we had Domo sitting. So we introduced Domo as a top layer. It was a tool for us to communicate with the user. So I have a user coming up to us and saying, listen, I would like to know the revenue by channel, by region, right? And they say, you know, we actually wanted for this specific segment. So to do okay, we'd provide the data for them, fair enough, but then we'd also generalize the queries and upload them as data sets into Domo. And we gave these data sets the names universes, and we had different universes of data sets. So we had our product data set, which is general activities, sportsbook data set, casino data set, and the key here was always generalization, right? BY is generalize. These are primary gains, right? Now, we couldn't share too many use cases so as not to reveal too much of what goes on in the organization, but this to give you a general idea. So basically, before our campaign evaluation was painstakingly slow. So coming up with the campaign, evaluating the campaign, it took around 4 weeks. We managed to limit this into 2 days. We also helped out our bookmaking team with their event projections and the bookmaking analysis which is carried out week on week. So this is our self-service philosophy, right? We have our shops, which make it easy and fast to bet. And we see ourselves as partners to the business, and we wanted to extend this service to them. So what we're going to do is we're going to cover one of the use cases, which is campaign evaluation. We thought is the most relatable one to you guys, since you all run campaigns. So this is what the campaign looks like at Tapeco. We decide what the product is. A product, in our case, is an offering, basically a sporting event. Over here, we chose Bayern Munich and Werder Bremen, which is like one of the hottest football matches in the Bundesliga. The analysts would decide the target market. So for example, they would say, give me customers who bet on either team and did not deposit in the past month. We can use the number of deposits to measure the campaign, and the call to action is to deposit, and we'll give them an incentive of a €10 free bet upon deposit. And this is what our campaign evaluation looked like. So you're probably familiar with this. So we design a new campaign, choose the customers to target, download the list, and send it to the marketing team to really like distribute the emails. Then, after a few weeks, evaluate the campaign, and then we had a campaign evaluation page on Domo, and then present it to management. And you can see how we use Domo to really like supercharge this process and push it forward. So let's talk about choosing the customers to target. So I'm sure you guys are familiar with the screen. You have your cards. At the top you have add the design. You can select the existing data set, for example, look through the data sets. However, the more data sets we add, the more confusing it becomes to the user. You have a long list of data sets. Sometimes it's a bit unclear. We have data sets which are still in development, proof of concept phase, etc., etc. So we thought it would be really nice if we had like a better data set picker. So we're going to show two methods we did this with. One of them you can implement literally in 5 minutes, and the other ones are a fancier way of pushing the limits a bit. So the key here is it's a very simple trick. This is looking at the URLs provided by Domo. So I am sure you guys are familiar with the analyzer. I'm sorry for the kind of strobe light blurring going on there. We tried to blur it so as not to show any data, but it kind of malfunctioned a bit. So if you're feeling a bit sick, just look away for a second. So the key here is we simply picked out the URL. Over there you can see the URL, and we looked at it a bit, and we saw these URLs look very similar. So the first part of the URL, after the slash page, is the page which the card will save to. Right? It's highlighted in pink there. And the second URL is the dataset ID that the card is built upon. So if you click on Add Dataset, select your dataset, you'll get the dataset ID and the page you're on. And we looked through our pages, compiled them, and said, how can we use this to improve it? So now, starting with the first step, really easy, embedding these links inside notebooks. So we can create our page here, our self-service BI page, very clean. You have 4 cards there with the different links. Now when the user clicks on one of the links, it takes them straight into the analyzer. So they can literally log on to Domo. You can make this even their first page that they access through the admin panel. And they can literally just click it and get in. How we did this is very simple. You just click on the notebook. You can add the hyperlink over there, give it some text. And you can also, add a description, add some images, links to documentation, external or internal to Domo. And then we try to push the limits a bit and make something a bit fancier. So over here you're seeing our dataset picker card. So you have this reel, which is animated, which goes round and round. We have the title of our dataset, or our universe, as we like to call it, our description over there, and a link to it. And keep in mind, when you click on this link, it will take you straight to the analyzer. So they can browse them and go straight there. We created this using the custom apps in Domo. So if you log on to developer.domo.com, you'll find a tutorial on how to use it. Basically, you need to download a small tool, run some commands on the command line, and you need to know a bit of HTML and CSS. I'm sure you guys probably have some sort of front-end developers in your company which can help you out with this too. So the tool is actually really easy to use. You can open the command line, run Domo on it. It will actually download kind of a sample project, so you don't even need to think about it. And then decide what datasets to use, run your code using HTML and JavaScript, and then just hit Domo publish. And this will give you the custom apps inside Domo. When you add a card, you can simply select the last option, custom apps. As you can see, our developers had some fun with the icons. Decided to leave it there. And yeah, this is what our custom app looked like. So for those of you who are a bit familiar with some HTML, you have an A tag, ref, and the URL. And as you can see, the URL, we decided to go with minus 1,000, there's 1 million. And then the dataset ID. So the minus 1 million actually saves the card to the overview page, so it's personal to the user, and then they can decide to share it. But this is entirely up to you. So back to our slide. So we discussed how we choose customers. Now it's how to evaluate a campaign. So the way we saw this, we have our universe full of data historically, right, for all the customers, etc. But this is, it's a bit slow to load at times. So we asked users to upload a CSV with simply the login names of users. and join this with the universe, and we have then a subset of the data which is easy to filter through. So here's what our data fusion looked like inside Domo. So let's go and edit on the data fusion. You can see our many data sets being joined together, but the most important one actually is the one coming from the CSV connector, which is that one at the top. And this one contained login names and the campaign names, and we simply did an inner join. This is like very simple stuff, but it goes a long way with the users. Next, we implemented yet another custom app. This is actually just a rehash of the other one. Over here, you have your links to different data sets and the link to upload to go directly to the CSV connector. So the user, after clicking the first link, will go directly into this page, upload the data set. There you have the login names and the dates of the campaign. And then, we had this data fusion running. It would merge it would join the data sets and filter out the data. And then it would take you directly to the analyzer. You can simply drag and drop and generate your dashboard for the evaluation of the campaign. So now what we did is, we spoke to the business users and we asked them, there are specific KPIs that you always monitor in the campaign, right? And we created the page. Now, I'm sorry for how the graphs look. I promise our campaigns don't look like that usually, but I had to create some dummy cards just to show the example. And we had our user create these cards. Then what you do is simply upload it, check these cards, and take a copy of them. Now, an alternative solution is to simply use our previous hack related to the notebooks. Simply include the links over there. So one is to upload the data set, and then you have links to the analyzer for the different universes that we have. And on the side, you have our card, again blurred, this time no strobe. And yeah, they can check it out. So in summary, we help the users ease into Domo by playing around with the URL structures. We actually dove into the custom applications to tailor the experience and provide some eye candy and make it fun. Otherwise, if you really want to go for some low-hanging fruit, just use the notebooks and go for it.
All right. So this is our last part, evolution. We're still on time. So evolution is really what we want to do for the future. So this year, what we want to provide to the users. And this is really simple. So we want to go for real-time data ingestion in Domo. So we're looking for solutions with Domo, and Jake is fully on this now. So he's a big data developer now. We want to introduce customer 360 abilities. So this is what? It's basically getting all the possible data sets that contain something from the user and put it in a central place, and then propagate it into different tools like Salesforce, for example, by embedding cards. Domo is perfect for this. Why? Because it can basically integrate some really small data sets that we will never integrate in the data warehouse due to the amount of work. So we just go for Domo as it's super simple. When I think about data sets, it's like GA, for example, Google Analytics, or Salesforce, or really simple things that you can integrate in 2 clicks. This, and the one that is giving us a bit of trouble now, is finance data integration. So we want to push finance away from Excel, and this is tough. So we're right now they have monster Excel, and we want to just give them the opportunity to use Domo for this, and do their job by visualizing cards, drilling down to transactions, and basically go for a better future for the business use. Right, this is us. Did I mention how much we've been to different breakout sessions, and everyone was telling us, okay, we have this amount of data in Domo, etc. So we have our biggest data set is 1.8 billion rows, and we want to push it to 8 billion. And our smallest data set that contain fact data is 33 million rows. So we're playing with big data. Do you have any questions?
So I spent most of my career in the ClickView environment, and this is the first time I've seen someone here present where they went from ClickView to the Domo environment. Can you kind of talk about how that transition was for you guys? What were some of like maybe the pros or cons from switching from ClickView into the Domo environment?
So basically, to be clear, we did not look at Domo as a direct replacement of ClickView. We looked at Domo as an implementation for the self-service aspect. We wanted a tool which is drag and drop and easy to give to the users. Now, previously inside ClickView, since it's a very static environment, and you need to develop something and then give it to the users. We wanted a tool where the user can actually build stuff themselves, and that is what we loved about Domo. ClickView is an okay tool at what it does, but we don't see them as competing with our organization, even though in the minds of the users it might be the case. We want to push Domo as the self-service tool, the tool you find on your phone, and the tool which you use when you have a question.
Also, the report generator that you saw was a trigger for us because it really shows that people wanted to get data for, like, to do your stuff, basically. They want to do things by themselves. And ClickView is it's a dashboarding tool. It's not like a self-service tool.
You mentioned using real-time data. What do you consider real-time? How delayed is that?
So currently, our main consideration for real-time is near real-time, we would say, which is around 10 minutes. That is our aim. The sooner the better, always. But to ensure certain consistency, we would want to increase the time.
Thanks for the presentation, guys. Couple questions for you. How many users do you currently have?
We have 100 users. We just push a bit the boundary at the moment with Domo, but yeah, 100 users.
And the portion where you let your users upload data directly into Domo, the CSV portion, what happens if they upload wrong data? It's not in the right format, the columns aren't correct. Do you have a process that catches that stuff?
So currently we have
it fails.
It fails.
Okay.
So we document it very well, and we make sure that if the user uploads additional data, it's not a problem. Additional columns, etc., etc. But we just told them, give us the login name, campaign start date, and campaign end date. We found it's pretty simple for them to grasp. So from a technical perspective, the business value to solving this problem if it goes wrong was not so great.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
This might be more of a joke, but can we bet on the basketball games tonight on your tool?
We have a bit of basketball, yeah. No more questions?
All right, thank you, Jake. Thanks, Dave.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you very much.